Hey guys, what's up? This is Shanahan. This week we want to talk about kind of making your chords have a little bit more life, a little bit more of a talk feel, and basically a little bit more of movement overall. Chords can be really stagnant in a lot of songs. Sometimes people come up with a great progression and then kind of just let the chords kind of just sit instead of automating different filters or LFO rates, phasers, and so on. There's so many possibilities to make the chords have a little bit more life. So I just wanted to do a quick video today of a simple process inside Spire. There's so many different third-party plugins. For example, the Wow filter a lot of people use from Sugar Bytes. Great tool. But for some reason, I like using Spire's internal parameters that are actually built into the interface itself. It always works out for me when I'm trying to make the chords move a little bit. There's many different ways, like I said, different tools you can use and different processing and things that can happen with the chords, but I'm just going to show you a quick way that I make the chords have that little bit more funky talk vowel sound, but without overdoing it, to give it just a little bit more movement. So I'll play the song. This is just a recent song that I'm putting together. Really nice, deep, chordy song that's kind of different from my style, but we'll work off this one and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so that's the song in the main chord progression. So I'm going to duplicate. I'll just solo them out to show you what I have right now, but this is besides the point. I'm just going to show you basically a layer that I want to add with a simple saw from Spire to kind of make that little talk layer and have the chords have more movement. So more of like a cello. And then the main piano. So basically all doing the same notes, thick mids and nice highs. They're all working together. The layers are really working together. And then I just have one bass line. Really thick, also in the low and mid. You can see here, kind of pushed pretty far. I'll dial that back later on when I'm doing the mix down. And then I just have some vocal hits that really give some texture and nice flow to the chord progression. So as I said, I'm going to duplicate this down and just add another layer to the chords, and I'm going to open up Spire. And I'm not going to use any preset. You can actually, this is a super basic patch that I've been using for years for my synth chord layers. You don't have to overdo chord layers with squares and all this stuff. I like to keep mine really basic with saws if you kind of alter them correctly with the sound design, and it's something very simple. So I'm just going to open this up here, start with nothing on processing, and I will just initialize the patch. And as everybody knows, Spire has 4 oscillators here, as opposed to Silent. I kind of can dig into sound design a little more, but Spire has a certain character to it, just like Massive from Native Instruments. They have a certain character, which is awesome. So use that to your advantage. Just don't overdo it. So basically, I'm just going to start with one oscillator. I'm going to just put the voices to about 8. So then I can kind of mess with the width of the sound. If you're just in one voice, you can't really mess with it too much. It's going to just sit mostly mono and center, and you can't really adjust too much of the image. And I'm just going to widen the image a little bit. I'll just play the chords actually, since I have the MIDI down here. So you can see very basic saw. It sounds great out of the box. You always can win with a saw patch. And I always put the bend to 12 in case I automate any pitching later on. And I'm going to keep this really basic here. I'm not even going to mess with any of the sounds in here. I want to keep it real basic saw. I'm going to bring the detune down so it's a little bit more center and kind of less, it's feeling more and more natural. Okay, and I don't really want to mess with, you guys can mess with the filtering if you want, that's your choice. If you want to filter in box, I prefer filtering with my third party filtering or something inside Logic. That's just what I prefer doing. But I'm mainly going to shut off all of the delay, reverb, chorus. I might mess with the sharp here, but I'm going to mainly work in the phaser section. As you guys know, a lot of people use this style in their bass lines to get that talk and kind of that Merck and Cremont hitting bass line. You know, again, you can do this with a wow filter, but I'm going to use in here to kind of make the chords have a little bit more movement. Now the rate, as some of you know, the rate is literally going to tell you how much time you want this this vowel sound to hit. It's almost, you're going to set the time with the rate as far as how many times you want it to happen. And you can see up here, it's telling you the exact parameter amount. I prefer a little bit. Again, I don't like overdoing the idea that I'm doing here. It's really basic, but it's something that can really give flavor and character to your layers if you kind of just sit it perfectly in the mix. Now, the awesome thing with Spire, you can do 3 different. You can do it more of a lower tone or lower. It's almost like someone with their voice hitting it at the lower note. So that warms it up. That warms it up a little bit. So I like the high. You know, I'm gonna bring the wet down a little bit. Now that's really simple, like I said. But the other way you can do also is messing with the LFO to give it a little bit more rate and automate at the end of the notes of the chords, which is really cool. It's something I usually do in Silent, which I'll show you that way right now. So that's the one I would do in Spire, the style of making the chords have a little bit more movement. The one I would do in Silent, let me open that up right now. Again, really nice warm starting saw. So I'm not going to mess with that too much besides open up the voice, and I'm going to add a noise. I really like the noise parameter inside Silent. Okay, so as I said, the other thing I would do is do more of an LFO, which you would switch pitch AB on, and you can bring this knob up just a touch. You can see 1.2 up here I usually go to. You can go a little further, and then I bring the rate to about a 16. Also, you'll see up here, right about there. And I can automate the gain depending on how much of that, you know, you could say wobble or rate you want to come through. So generally, when I'm doing this type of chord progression and automation, I would automate this gain kind of at the end of my notes, the end of the progression here, and maybe right at the end of the 4 bars here, just to give that little bit more movement going into the next section of the chords. So really cool, really basic, but it goes a long way. So just fool around with that idea. Automating will really do the trick. Kind of spend time on it to make sure it's right and make sure everything is sounding not overdone. You know, be careful with it. As far as processing to bring it out a little bit, I kind of just go to town with the Q2 from FabFilter. I kind of overdo it. It's kind of just a preference. I like cutting. I start with cutting off and bringing up the highs a little bit. And then I do a cut here at 96 just to tame it a little bit. And then I open up a second cue. And there's really, you don't specifically have to do this. I kind of just do it because, you know, there's no specific reason why I cut off twice or why I have 3 or 4 cues. You know, it's just more of a preference to see the image more than once. Instead of doing it all in one box here, I like doing it in several. And I'm going to cut at 96 also, so it's sharp on both. And the reason being, as you may know, is just to let the bass and the warm chords come through. I don't want to take up too much low from the kick and the bass, so I kind of just wipe it out close to 200 on both. And then I open up a third cue with a mid-side mode to control a little bit more of the stereo coming out of this sound. Again, I'm going to cut this for really no reason, to be honest. It's just kind of habit, just to make sure. And I'm going to switch the channel mode over to mid-side, and I'm going to bring up right around probably the 1K range. I'm going to switch this over to side, just so this whole spectrum in here, I want to be a little bit wider in the chords. So you can hear that. You can hear that difference when you bring it down. It's more of a tighter. When you bring it up, it's giving that more of that stereo feel. And I'm gonna dip out a little bit on the stereo here. And give a little bit more width on the top end. So that'll spread the noise. You could say the noise parameter or noise oscillator a little bit further here, because that's where it's sitting in the 6 to 10K range. And those simple EQs, I mean, you'll see the AB now. And sure, it feels warm, you know, with that low end. But you got to take into effect all your other chords and layers that are going to be sitting in that warm end. You know, it's, in that low end. So you gotta take that into effect when you're EQing. You know, can it be in there or can it not? It's got to fit perfectly without clashing and creating too much mud. So that's why I take it out. And once I solo this with the bass line, then I can kind of dial back in any of the lows to kind of match up with where the bass is missing. And you want to find that happy medium, you know, that thin line. And let me throw on just a LFO tool to get a little bit of ducking. I simply just do a tiny, on these chords, I don't like them to duck too much, so I do a really slight kind of right in here. And then lastly, for the processing, I like to put maybe like a Camel Crush on here just to bring it out. You know, you can use a distortion plugin. You could mess with Sausage Fattener, Isotope Trash, kind of do what works for you guys. This is kind of just works best for me because it's so simple. There it is without anything. So yeah, it's really simple, as I said in the beginning, very basic. You know, just mess with the parameters here. Same with the Sylenth one. Mess with the LFO parameters to kind of fix what works for you. But that's mainly it. You know, that's kind of the chord. Just a simple trick to make the chords move a little bit more, and I really like it. And that's it. Hopefully you guys get a little bit of a benefit from this if you already knew how to do this, and keep doing your thing. But if not, give this a shot in your next track, and feel free to hit us up, drop us an email or any comments below, and we'll speak to you guys next time. Thanks for watching.